right, welcome back and thank you for staying with us. We are talking about the state of healthcare and the latest being the push by the young people, the medical interns who have camped at Afya House since Monday as what they term as Occupy Afya House. Part of their grievances is the delayed posting and, of course, the terms that they want the Ministry of Health to adhere to as per the 2017 collective bargaining agreement. What we know as per now is that the ministry has agreed to post the interns according to the terms contained in the 2017 collective bargaining agreement, where they're supposed to be earning 206,000 as salaries and allowances. But the issue that is still pending is on how many of them are supposed to be posted. This is coming after 60 days, which was the period within which the Ministry of Health was given to resolve this impasse. And of course, the interns and the leaders of the union, the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union, have held that all the 1,200 interns are supposed to be posted at once, no further delays. And that is the issue that we began with discussing this morning. And I'd also like to hear your thoughts, Mheshimiwa, but before that, let me just also pick up something I'm looking at on the statement by the CS. She's saying that as of the time she was writing this statement, the total number of interns awaiting posting across the cadres was 3,760. That is 3,760. And this will require a budget of about 4.8 billion. Due to the budget ceiling, the ministry received an allocation of 3.7 billion in the financial year 2024-2025 for the internship. So where do they get the extra money? I mean, she's trying to explain that we have goodwill. We want to post the interns, but we are also stretched. We are also not getting enough.
One, we are not seeing it as a crisis. You know, there is sometimes you need insights. If you are running an institution, a national institution, if you are running national, need insight. If a house, one of the big houses, the big government offices went on fire, or if suddenly we had another big flood and people are dying, money will be found. Why will money be found? Because people are dying and we can see bodies and they can be counted. But when people are dying in hospitals, the numbers are the same. So you need an insight to know that there is a crisis. People are dying. They may not be in the street with blood strewn on the street. And it makes no difference. If you die in a hospital, or you die at home because there's no medical care, or if you die in the street because you are shot with a gun, or if you die on the road because there's a bus accident, or if you die because there was a flood. Now, we must treat this as a crisis and look for the money about it. There are things that are happening. If today a plane crashed and a lot of money was needed to take, the money will be found.
So one problem you're saying, we are not treating this as a crisis.
We are not treating it as a crisis.
That's a problem.
That's a problem. And look, anything that goes wrong becomes a health matter. If there is a flood, you ask how many people have died. If a building collapses, how many people have died? If a bus crashes, how many people have died or are injured and treated, and you call it emergency? When people are dying in hospitals at home because doctors are on strike, now look at it this way. When those doctors are sleeping outside or standing outside Ministry of Health, how many patients are actually queuing in hospital waiting to be treated by doctors?
Yeah.
Now, that is the level at which you must operate as a government. You don't need picturesque issues or big thing with cameras. No, you must understand what does this mean to people. The fact that they're dying at home or they're dying in hospital beds waiting, I mean, they are still dying.
But does it...
Now, when you do that, then you will need money to be got on a crisis way.
Does it soften things a little bit, knowing that the ministry moved from the initial, which they really insisted on, even the SRC had given this number, 70,000 to 200,000. Yeah. Does it soften issues?
First of all, what was the basis of 70? Why was it not 50? Why was it not 80? 206 has a basis. you get it in the collective agreement. But I'll go back further to 2003, where there's this argument that why do medical interns now want to be paid higher salaries than other people entry into government service. There are things called compensable factors on what you are doing. You take a doctor. These are the people, when we have results in Form 4 results, we carry them on our back and sing and praise them, and all of them saying, I want to be a neurosurgeon, I want to be a cardiologist, I want to be a doctor. 5 years, they are at your door, they are jobless. 3 years for clinical office, they are at your door, you are jobless, they are jobless. So if you take somebody who takes 3 years, he leaves and say he goes into administration employed as what used to be DO or assistant commissioner. Right now, that's what they are called. Now, the counterpart they entered the medical school with is still in college for 3 years. When he comes out, that guy is already had promotions. So when this guy comes, you are insisting you want to get them enter at that level where that guy was. Now we reasoned that. When you have this person, they work sometimes 24 hours. I had said before, then pay them overtime and count the hours. It was shown that it will be so large. So we said, give them extraneous allowances. When you have these people, they are on call. And many times, even when they become medical officers, they may not be living in the same place. Now, if this person buys a car, and then when you call him or her tonight, he uses this car to attend to a call in a hospital, at that point, is the car not doing a public service? So people shouldn't then see that car as a luxury for the doctor.
A tool.
And that is why we said, give them transport allowance.
All right.
Wait, no. Time is not an issue here. If you didn't have time, don't call us. So if then you then say, okay, when COVID was here, you can look at the people of the same social status and the same even level of income. You may find that more doctors died. I shed tears in public. More doctors died than other people. It has been proven that you will have more TB, people of the same socioeconomic status, amongst health workers. They have a risk because they are exposed to disease. That was the risk allowance we were paying them. Now you come and you want to scrap that, and your argument is they are earning 206,000,
and they are still students.
And their counterparts are
on
earning
internship.
There are reasons why it is 206. And that reason was done between 2000 and 2003. That's why I was saying many things were done before and you want to undo them. So that is that. Now let me come to numbers. Madam, you will give us time. If you don't have time...
I wish I have the luxury of time.
Now,
but
now come to the numbers. We are saying the doctors were too many for us to employ. But at the same time, our hospitals have no doctors. So there's a bigger planning issue. So now, the other thing has been, this thing we are stuck, that interns must only be employed by the Ministry of Health. We need another policy shift. He's telling you, in between 2000 and 2000, particularly 2003, when I was the Director of Medical Services, we moved this thing. We said then they were only being employed in what was then provincial hospitals, which are now level 5. Then we said, these guys are many, we can't afford, we can't do that. We have to open up. So we opened up mission hospitals, private hospitals, they can. So what we need to do, in my view, what a planning is, now we have this level 4, level 5, I can tell you why we did them, we don't have the time. But we can say, and it is a private hospital or public hospital, we talk of level 5, because of the level of service that is given. The deployment of interns can be done in a level 5 or a good level 4 because they are requirements. If we say it, all level 4s and level 5s, whether they're private, whether they're mission, for them to be assigned to that level, they must create positions for interns across the board. And if they work for you, whether you are private or whether you are mission, you pay them because these are workers. Then
so that the burden is shared, shared across.
Now, everybody's waiting that the Ministry of Health will then employ them all in the first year. Now, when they have got the final registration, then now people want to employ them, including taking them out. Do you realize that as we are saying we don't have enough of them, then we are also planning how we should export them?
It's crazy.
You know? Now, you still need more information. Now,
but I also want Dr. to weigh in.
No, you need information because you are talking of the large numbers.
Let me cede my time a bit.
The large numbers,
you cede your time to him.
The large numbers don't come in a day. They don't come in a year.
It's progressive.
It's progressive. Now, there's a bigger issue here that I haven't even heard the Ministry of Health address. They have a difficulty of knowing how many interns are coming out because there's been a problem in the Universities Act, which has now stopped the Medical Practitioner Dentists Council, the Clinical Officers Council, even in the Nursing Council, even in engineering, the Engineers Board, even in architecture, which says these regulatory bodies cannot go and inspect institutions that are training them, particularly universities, because university has its own act. We don't even know the quality of the doctors we are getting as interns because the Commission for Education, for University Education, may not have the competence. I actually moved to get an amendment to that act so that these regulatory bodies like the Medical Dentist Council now will work with them. Now, we have even a bigger problem. We are talking of large numbers. And then take Kenyatta. I trained in Kenyatta. The number was 100. Later on, it moved. Now, it is 500 that are trained. 700 being trained there. The capacity has not increased. The number of beds have remained the same. Maybe the number of lecturers has gone. So if we wanted to know the number of medical students per lecturer, medical students per bed, medical students, so that when we are training them during the round, we don't have 100 or 50 students in one place. Some are at the back, not even seeing what is going on.
So the quality of education
is bigger. And if we dealt with that, we would probably be training less. Not that we don't want people to train, but we must make sure they get good training, and then we also plan how. So you need to go and say, how do we regulate the training, the numbers that come out? How do we open up so that when they come out,
you're ready to accommodate them?
Now, these are the issues. So if you wait even in your own house, things that start happening, the house starts leaking, you do nothing. The next time the doors are open, you do nothing. The next time the windows are broken, you do nothing. Then you say, this house is so much broken down. Now there is no money to repair. Of course there is no money to repair because you didn't plan.
So, Mheshimiwa, let me put it in context because Mheshimiwa is putting it in legal language. One,
and how he began. I like the chronology of
the chronology. He's an expert, and we are all experts. We can run that ministry.
To the university.
If you look at this reversing the trend 2020, even this Gen Z, if you really look back, around 1977-78, the infant mortality was 300 per 1,000 live births. We then introduced vaccinations. By 84, for measles, for example, there's no measles. Now, the infant mortality is 30. All these children, we had a program called Child Survival. The childs have survived. 2002, we realized some of them are not even going to school. Then Kibaki says, everybody must go to school. Then they all go to school. Then do we ask, that we vaccinated them, we had child survival, we took them to school,
and here they are.
Now, here they are.
Defending their rights.
So there's double speak now. So now, just to take on from where Dr. James Nyikala had, you have set up as a government and said you want to create jobs. Then when you come, you do not create jobs, you take away the money that is supposed to create that jobs, which is a value add. And when these Gen Z children who have become now doctors, you come and start saying there's no money. Let me put what he has said in context. First, the Commission of University CUE Act took away the powers of the medical board to supervise, for instance, the University of Nairobi and say you only have capacity to train 100. So the KMPDC input is not taken in. And therefore you have University of Nairobi taking 700 people who cannot be trained adequately because they want numbers just to generate income. That's a quality issue. Then we have these things we have seen. What he has said is that we now decided, because we are having these problems that are recurrent, as part of the return to work formula, let us suggest a task force to look at the whole health thing so that we mitigate in future. Then what do? They go and put a task force and say it's a human resources for health task force, and they list names of some names, random, I don't even know how they got them, and we reject as Kenya Medical Association. And the reason we reject is that the human resources for health issues are already being addressed. We went to Kericho, there was a big do, October 20th, Kericho Declaration, where the Kenya Health Human Resources Advisory Council has said it will do this ABC for health. There are 100 task force reports, starting with the Musimi task force report, the BBI reports that I think we were all there, that have shown how to manage human resources. So you cannot divert attention from this strike by saying, oh, now we have a task force for HRH. No, we didn't want a task force for HRH. We wanted a task force to look at all those things. Why is CUE taking an overall task force, which includes everyone. So this task force they do first does not include Kenya Medical Association, has no people from the counties where majority of the work is. It's just a task force. So we, as you may have seen in the news, as Kenya Medical Association, we have given an advisory. So if you want a task force, you do one for health, but you do not put a task force before you have sorted out the interns, before you have sent them out to continue working.
All right. Peterson, you the other day met the governors and there was the signing of the return to work formula.
Yes.
But it's not like a complete celebration to end the strike that has lasted 3 months. And we're here wondering why. I mean, there was a return to work formula that was signed. So why are we not celebrating 100% that the clinical officers have called off the industrial action?
Yeah, thank you. And maybe before I answer that, let me also put this issue of task force into context. In 2022, as the human resources for health, the entire, from the associations to the unions and the partners, we came together and asked ourselves a question. Why is it that we have perennial challenges that do not seem to be resolved? And we decided to come together, and for the first time, we as the unions and associations provided a solution. We convened the first ever Kenya Annual Health Workers Convention. And it's actually from that convention, one of the resolutions which were led out by the CS for Labor then, CS Chelugui, was to have a task force in the health sector, a presidential level task force. When we met the president when he was campaigning in the Catholic University, this was one of the items we agreed on. But it was not for HRH, it was for health in general. Because a health worker needs a conducive environment that includes essential medicines, equipment, and what have you. So when we saw that the president appointed one for education, one for the security sector, but not for health, we actually I wrote myself as the chair of the Health Union Caucus. We got a response from the head of public service saying that that matter had been referred to the CS and we should follow with the CS, and that is how it died. That was, I think, a few months after this government came into power. And we had suggested to have that an all-inclusive...
so it's health, not human resource.
Yes, health task force. Because what we wanted is a task force that would look into the policies, the other recommendations from the other task forces, from committees and commissions and whatever else, so that we can bring them together and then we can have a framework on how to implement that. So I agree with my colleagues here that even before you give us a task force, there are things you can see. Post-interns.
Yeah.
Do whatever you need to do to end the strike for clinical officers and even for the lab. I don't know if it's ended, but I think somewhere it got lost.
It has not
but
ended.
You look at the things that we are
How can a strike get lost? Wait.
you see the things we are striking about, even ourselves, like the risk allowance is something that we agreed, and it was signed by a CS. It is not something that we're actually negotiating now. But now, coming to our agreement with the Council of Governors, let me say that we are disappointed in the Ministry of Health. We expect them to show leadership. But then, we went on strike, and for a month, we were actually not engaged by either the COG or the ministry. And the court came in because we actually went on a strike to enforce a court order of the Employment and Labor Relations Court that was directing the employers to sit on the table because they had refused. So then the court later, on 9th of May, gave an order that they have to sit and enter into an agreement, or what was called by the court as a compromise. So the 47 county governments honored, and if you look at our return to work agreement, it actually, in the citation, it honors that we are doing this pursuant to this court order. So that is how we came together with the Council of Governors. And I have tremendous respect for His Excellency Mutahi Kahiga and Muthomi Njuki, who have led this process. And now we have a framework for 60 days, how we will be able to resolve around 8 issues that we have with them. But then coming back to the ministry, I must
there
also...
are people who are still on strike. Yeah. And there are some. Let's get that clear.
Because
you are still on strike.
Minister of Health. So at the Ministry
There's that confusion, yeah?
And the Ministry of Health, I've had the CS saying that we are very few. But all the interns, about 3,000 and something, belong to the Ministry of Health. Our 900 UHC clinical officers are being paid by the Ministry of Health. So we are talking about almost 5,000 members. And the problem we have there, and that is why I was saying that the problem is actually the CS. The PS has really tried. We got the career guideline that we have looked for more than 10 years. It is signed. That one is finished. We have negotiated the CBA. The only thing that is remaining is the risk allowance. But the person who has the capacity to unlock that dispute on the risk allowance is the CS. She's the one who is supposed to mobilize and to lobby from both the SRC and the Treasury, because we cannot do that, to ensure that we can be able to get this done, and then we can end the strike. In 2017, we had a similar crisis in the country. And we saw what CS Mailu did. CS Mailu went out of his way. He was convening the governors. He was convening all the stakeholders and brought a solution on the table. And that is how the crisis ended. Yeah. But now we are not seeing the CS doing that. We are seeing her shifting the blame to the PS and saying that this is being handled by the PS. But then it has been handled by the PS for 100 days. You must ask yourself what is happening and why that has not happened. So we have 3 things that we have not been able to agree on. The first one is on the internship. For the reasons we have been discussing here, we will not accept a reduction in their salaries. Number 2, in the internship, the diploma ones accepted to go, actually against our directive as the union.
That's why I asked you, weren't they posted? Because we
the diploma ones,
the diploma
you know,
ones
they used to be given a stipend of 15,000. But now it was improved to 35,000. So they saw it as something better. But actually, according to the PSC, they should earn at job group H, which is around 75,000. But either way they went, they have been doing the internship for 4 months. They have never been paid for 4 months. So that's another problem. The second issue is about the UHC health workers. So you are telling us to sign in agreement that these people continues to work under those terms for 2 years. But on the other side, the law says that when you have 2 people doing work of equal value, but you unequally pay them because they're earning half of what their counterparts on PNP are earning, then that is discrimination. So we are actually being asked to sign away our birthright, which we are refusing. And the last thing, of course, is about the risk allowance, which we agreed in 2021 and signed. Now they're asking, can we renegotiate? And we're asking them, why are we renegotiating? And you know, I've also heard the CS say that we are increasing by 500%, which is really political. Because when you look at the figures, for around 7,000 clinic officers across the country, the only budget we need is the confidential budget that had been allocated to State House. And now that it was removed, they can actually give us that confidential budget.
And
we will have,
you know what, I like how you raise a problem and you're also looking for where the money is going to come from, and you say the money is already there. We just need half of this.
And I'm trying to bring out the insincerity that we'll be talking about sorting the country and sorting issues. We are saying we are no longer allocating money here. We are only lacking 1 billion to post out the interns. That is the budget that was being allocated to the First Lady and to the office of the it's not the Second Lady, but the wife of the Deputy President.
The spouse of the...
If we also take that budget for the confidential budget, we will have sorted the issues in the health sector. So let us be sincere. Let us be sincere and be forthright in sorting the dispute and not politicizing the issue.
All right, Mheshimiwa Nyikal, this crisis, there seems to be a lot of pressure on the CS, but one would argue, did it start with her? I mean, we've seen the crisis in the health sector. This is not the first time we are having conversations such as this. So can we zero it down to saying that it's the CS, really, when it is something that we have experienced even in the past?
At political level, you see, the CS links the political leadership level with the technical leadership.
Correct.
The PS he manages money, people, and materials as provided. But policy direction must also come from the political concurrence. So if something is very tough, you expect now it must reach the appointing authority, which is the president. So I don't know. And if we now get broader than health, you hear, even today I'm seeing here, people saying, remove this, asking the president, remove this CSS, remove this CSS. Me, I'm seeing it in another way. Is the problem the appointing authority? Is it the president? Is he giving these people a free hand to make decisions? Or is appointing them and not giving them a free hand? So when you are talking, you hear this one of health, we have a problem. You go to roads, we have a problem. We go to education, we have a problem. Gen Zs may have a point. So it is at that higher level, the appointing authority, that people have been asking the president, change. But I'm asking, when he changes, does he then give them the power to advise? Because they say ministries are defined by the technical directorates. You take a set of ministers and PS, you can take them in health, and the department that the technical the directorate is health, then it's a minister of health. You take them in agriculture, the same two people, and the technical directorate is agriculture. That is the minister of agriculture. The same two people, you can take them to water, and the technical directorate is water. It becomes the minister of water. So the minister, therefore, is the link with the political, and you are saying political, we agree. So I think, I'm saying, the president, I know the bigger picture, but in this particular one, let him also focus on health and see if he has to change the minister, that's right, or support the minister to do the right thing. But let me talk about the task force. You know, madam, we talk, but eventually, you see, politics has a problem that with lying and telling half-truth, you can be elected. And election is a one-day event. You are announced, you are now the boss. Now you're now going to start to manage. Management you cannot run a country, a department, or anything by lying. If you plant, you put maize seed on the ground, you can say for many years with many powers that you planted beans and beans. When it germinates, it will just be maize. So that's how the technical world is. So that brings me to the task force. I have no problem with the task force, but they have told you there have been many task forces. This particular one was requested during the return to work formula. So to some extent say, okay, It was required. But it was amongst many other things. And the key points was this employment of interns and the payment of registrars. Now, you can't just now, 60 days, then suddenly what you have is a task force. All the other things have been done. Then the people don't trust it. You can now have a task force sitting somewhere and those interns are sitting out at the ministry. That is a crisis that a task force cannot address. You need that addressed. They are in the hospitals working, and then the task force is working. Then you put all these other task forces. Let me go to the bigger picture. We had task force in education, and the funding of the universities. Is the problem over? We had a task force in education, and now we came to JSS, the junior secondary, and so on. Mm-hmm. Today, there's a question on whether people who are in grade 8 are going to Form 1 or staying there. Because a task force will only work if, one, you are sincere, you are truthful, you put people who, all the relevant stakeholders. He's telling us that in this task force, the counties are not there, KMA is not there, the nurses, he says, is not there. Then what is it going to do? Then you actually set up the people on the task force so that later on they are blamed. But what you have done, the environment and the understanding and the conditions under which you set up the task force, it couldn't deliver. Yeah. Politically, you can get away with things like that because you'll be elected and it is over. Nobody now looks. But when you're going to do a management, which is going to take years, the results will be seen in 5-10 years. You must be truthful, honest, and sincere.
All right. I want us to shift a little bit. I know this is something that we will still be discussing as developments come, but there is also one big issue. This particular month, it was officially, announced that we have commenced the registration. I mean, why the body language, Dr. Kingondu? The registration to the Social Health Insurance Fund, 1st of July. Of course, the official launch has been postponed to October. I think that is around the same time that deductions will begin proper. But are we all set? Like, if you look at, are we okay? This was supposed to be the engine behind the achievement of the universal health coverage. Are we on course?
This government seems to be a government of shock and awe. So they came and decided the health financing model needs to be overthrown. We gave our input in that. But as Dr. Nyikal has said, the environment, the political and policy environment that we are working on, then I will allow them to discuss the SHIF itself. But I'll just take one part of the SHIF. 2.75% of your earnings are supposed to go to a SHIF. Now, when this government came in, the first thing they did was to give banks the power to make us poor. There was the bank CBR interest rate that was fixed at a certain amount. And that's the reason that encouraged a lot of business in the previous administration and people had growth. But immediately, this government came in. They deregulated the CBR rates. And all of a sudden, the bank interest rates moved from 12% to 20%. What is the meaning of that? That means that everyone is now working for the bank, because if they had told us they were going to do that, then we would not have taken bank things, you see. So what does that do? It makes people poor. And that's the first defense against health. So already it's problematic. The CBR rates, and we ask the central bank governor and the people working in Treasury to take it back and fix it, because they are killing us. All the money now we are earning is going to the bank for products we took before this government came in. You see, so it's not your fault.
So the loans that were existing.
The loans are existing. So it's a health problem. You do not have money. 2, 2.75% in these interns ones, you are telling to pay 75%. You have already reduced their salary. You have not increased their salary. So when we tell you to cap, you refuse and continue pushing for social health insurance to be as a tax, then you have reduced their salary. The income goes down, your power goes down to be able to pay for health. The same income, and that's why there were revolts on the finance bill. The finance bill revolt, by the way, is for us Gen X who have Gen Zs in the house. Because they have listened to us, they've seen the problems we are facing, and for them, they have no problem. They know if you are arrested and taken to a police station, your father will come. But the fathers are suffering. They are the ones, their salary. If you look at the salary of, let's use that intern, which initially was 200, by now, it will have reduced significantly by almost 50K from all the taxes that they are taking. And the biggest problem is the central bank that has allowed banks to make us poor. That, for me, is my contribution to SHIF. And therefore, when you do 2.75%, then you're making me poorer. And finally, the civil servant scheme that they removed as SHIF, claiming that, oh, there were too many, it's what used to protect us as civil servants, and we used to contribute. Dr. James Nyikal there took our medical allowance, gave it to NHIF in the Kibaki era, and told them, use this money. Mine was like 5,000 shillings. So in essence, I used to pay 5,000 shillings plus 1,700 from the salary, which is 6,700 per month to NHIF. So when you have a civil service cover that is covering you, you have paid for it. It's almost like a private cover. So people should not now start saying, oh, we have removed cover. I don't know, civil service cover used to. You're saying half-truths. So you better improve the package that is already there and tell us, okay, instead of coming and saying, oh, now all of a sudden we have a new shisha. And finally, as we campaigned for this social health authority, we said, okay, you have decided to go that in the policy direction. The positions were ordered. The social health authority, Kenya Medical Association, was part of representing the health workers there. To date, the CS of Health has failed to gazette the Kenya Medical Association person in SHA. So SHA is running without the KMA input. Of course, how do you expect us to now be happy? And we have written so many letters, and they think that we are just there. That is there, they can operate without a law. So, Madarao ikitulea, then we will see now. There is no problem, by the way.
All right. So, Peterson, 2.75% is saying that is for people who are in formal employment, and if you're not in formal employment, that's 500 per month. And part of the requirements also is that even people who are not employed are going to be contributing to SHIF, because the other day the CS in an interview said that they are going to use what they call observing your economic.
It means.
Yeah. Your economic, is it personality or character? I didn't even know there was something like that. So everyone essentially is going to.
There are several aspects to it. There is how they raise the money.
Yeah.
There is how they use the money in delivering that service to the Kenyan. So how they get the money, the 2.75, is only for those who are employed and those who have money. If you are a poor, your percentage is higher than 2.75. How? If your 2.75 is below 300 shillings, then you have to increase and pay 300 shillings. So you'll be paying higher than 2.75. So you're actually disadvantaged. That is what is in the regulations and the law. So actually the poor are paying more. The rich are paying whatever has been set out. Not the rich, but those who have money. The other problem I have with it, when you talk about the means testing, and I was telling them during the stakeholders that we actually not encouraging Kenyans to contribute, because I have no problem with 2.75. If then I'll not be in these WhatsApp groups, we will not be doing fundraisers for our relatives. I'm in like 5 of them right now. I will spend more than 10,000 every month in them. So I have no problem with 2.75 if that is going to end. But then when it comes to the mean testing tool, it is a self-administered tool. So most of the people are actually going to pay the 300 because they'll be looking at what is the lowest I can be able to pay. But if we were to have packages that are attached to figures, if let's say I'm paying for my parents who have a chronic illness, I get them drugs worth more than 10,000 per month, then I will not have a problem if that package is for 2,000 or 3,000, paying for that. But the moment you say it's self-administration, and this is a question we have been asking, how are you going to be able to quantify the profits? If I milk a cow and I sell my milk, how are you going to count the 2.75? Is it from the profit? Is it from the input? Is it from the entire cost? So there is that one problem. On the other side, for the primary healthcare fund, and for the ECCIF, the Emergency Chronic Critical Care Fund, it's going to come from the exchequer. We saw an allocation of, I think, 2.1 billion. I think the other one, 1-point-something billion. So the problem will be in allocating that money and actually releasing the money, because we see a problem in that it's only the money that Kenyans contribute that is going to be used for both of those. Correct. Then now, once you get the money in the box, there is the service delivery. When it comes to service delivery, you are wondering, why did we even shift from NHIF? Because some things are even worse. You are telling me that I used to be capitated. Capitation is you choose a hospital, then they are given a certain amount for a quarter or for a year. With NHIF, it was 1,500 per person. Now we are going back to 900
per person annually.
But we are contributing more than we were doing with NHIF. So what is the value add for me to contribute more? That is something that we have to look into. Look at the maternity package. And my friend doctor here is an obstetrician. You are telling us that for those who are having normal deliveries, we will only pay for you for 48 hours. But then you also say it also includes operative delivery and episiotomy care. So are we going to heal an episiotomy or whatever injury came from that delivery within 48 hours? It is impossible. Are we even out of the red zone in terms of PPH, the immediate and the delayed?
All right.
So it is something that looks like a lot of that has not been put into. Then when it comes to, I think this government has been big on, we want to shift to preventive. And I have really been looking at what does the benefits package say about the preventive. We are still going back to the mainstream facilities to do the screening. Where do we have the community aspect? Where do we have the community workers? And what we have been suggesting as ourselves is that let us demystify the screening and take it out of the hospitals. Let us have community wellness centers. Let the cancer screening, the breast cancer screening, and the cervical, whatever else, let it happen in a community wellness center. Let us have a way of ensuring that we can also have a package that will be able to compensate, so that as you work in the market, you just enter into that tent or that building, you can get screening, you can get advice on nutrition for your children. And then you don't have to actually leave your work for extensive hours because you have a shortage of health workers in a health center for you to just actually be screened.
All right.
So the benefits package is what attracts a Kenyan, is what will make us contribute more, and that is not what we are seeing.
So what you're saying is we don't have a problem paying, but what's the catch? Like, what are we getting?
We want to see improved services from what we were having during NHIF.
All right, which I want you to weigh in on this. Many people have said, even the medical interns, the other day I covered them on Monday when they were demonstrating, one of the key demands is that let NHIF stay, improve NHIF. This transition to SHIF is not making sense to them. And we've had so many people saying that. Why is this necessary? I also want to hear your thoughts about this transition to SHIF.
I want to go to the bigger picture, which is the governance. And I start with State House, the president. You know, what we are seeing in this government is, let's change, good. But can you manage the change? So now, people are saying SHIF and NHIF. What is the difference? Now, the thing the people are asking, first of all, you wanted to say, And there was a big debate. And you know, for me, being in as much in the opposition, I really like what the Gen Z people did. You know why? What they are saying is what we have been saying in that parliament forever. Then people go to State House, they told they come back, we don't debate anything, they just pass the bill. SHIF itself, we had a big issue.
Right.
That they are going to create something called a claim office. And that claim office, in the original bill, was to be outsourced. See, insurance is that. We fought hard. Eventually, now they said maybe. Before it was going to be shall be. But we even had the suspicion that the order paper was changed with orders from above. And that, so that, now what is the difference, therefore, between SHIF and SHA? Now, the difference, I've not even talked about NHIF. The difference between SHIF and SHA is that SHA is Social Health Authority. It is dealing with 3 funds. SHIF, the contributory one. Then critical care and emergency fund, that is to come from the government. And primary health care fund, that is come from the government. Probably those are the ones they can tell us should be affected by the budget and the finance bill. SHIF is contributory, so I don't see what should be expected. Now, I don't know why they are shifting. They are shifting the date from now
to October
to launch. I also ask, when you launch, what do you mean the word launch? What are you launching? If you launch today, then people in Seme, in Kombewa, go to Kombewa Level 4 hospital, what are they seeing that you launched yesterday? We like to use the word launches. And
launching, I believe, deductions, and also to give Kenyans time to register.
Even if you say I'm launching deductions, if you launch it today, tomorrow we want to see people sitting with desks going all over the place, enrolling people. Say, then you launch. You've launched this thing I don't know how many times. So then, in that SHIF, the biggest challenge, and I said here, if when Abdikadir was here, I would ask him, when you're now going to get the money from people who are employed, easy. Formal employment, easy, you get it. But everybody is supposed to pay. So then there are 2 people now, after people in formal employment, self-employed, who are going to self-means test. Then they pay according to what they can. Now, self-means testing itself is very difficult. Then there are those people who are unemployed, we call them indigent. They really are not able to pay. Now, those people now, you need a system that picks them in the indigents that pays them. To me, those 2 areas of the people in formal employment and the indigent is actually the most difficult bit to get, because people in employment you will get.
All right.
So to me, but just a bit, what is UHC? You know, this thing actually started from this country. We don't have time. I would tell you how. The 58th World Health Assembly meeting, how it all started. After President Kibaki had declined to sign the Ngilu bill, which was the social health insurance bill at the time. Now, but that's history. But what is UHC? UHC means Universal Health Cover. That means you go to a facility, you get care at a cost you can afford, or you don't pay anything at that point. Now, the first thing is the service, which they are calling the benefit package.
Yeah.
That service must be there. So we should now also be working very hard to improve our health facilities so that the service is there. Is there.
So
and then we define what
people
are going
from
to
contribution
get.
To what is
they
there
must go concurrently. So then develop the service. Then now, when the service is there, you pay for it. Now, this is where SHIF comes. SHIF is merely paying. SHIF will not improve the service if the services are not improved by the county government for level 6, level 5 down, and the national government for level 6 up, the primary health care. So what they are launching, what are they launching in October? So again, there is lack of clarity on what we want to do.
All right.
We talk nice, but look nice on TV.
All right.
But on the ground, when we go, we finish now, and we go to Kiligoris. The woman in Kiligoris waking up in the morning in labor. What is she going to find?
All right. Okay, I want to give you a final round of remarks, and as we wind up, of course, the government is also targeting to woo over 17 million young people who are not currently members of NHIF to enroll for SHIF, because of right now, any person who is aged over 25 years is going to be required to register. Of course, there are penalties if you don't register, which include even lack of government services. There's a lot that has been said with regards to that punitive measure. There's jail terms, there's penalties that you're going to pay in terms of cash in case you delay or you don't pay for several months, 2% of the amount that accumulates based on the months that you have defaulted in payment. But then the general picture here is encouraging people to actually register. That's one step. And then after registering, encouraging people to actually pay regularly every month without being compelled, without being scared of the penalties. How do we do that? How do we address the challenges that NHIF had as we shift to SHIF? Because for me, it seems like the train has already left the station.
No. This mambo of train, we stopped. This mambo of train left. When you do something wrong, it can be changed. This fait accompli, we stopped. And Gen Z have shown us that. So, two things. One, yes, and you have correctly put it in that you do not force people, threatening them with penalties, which is what KRA are doing in terms of their e-teams thing. And we want this government to change tack. And the first one is to come out fuge, reduce the CBR rates. In a country where we cannot be working towards paying banks. Two, stop government doing business with banks doing business with banks. You must return to where banks are coming to hawk to people so that we are able to produce something and offer services. So currently we are having increased CBR rates. The bank takes our money, goes to government. Government does not do what it's supposed to do to make the environment conducive. So we are paying more for all the things too. The post-interns, there is no excuse, and you do not reduce their salary. We have fought for this thing, and they're part of the people. Interns are living in this Kenya. Their cost of living is the same as everyone else. And finally, occupy MOH until interns are posted. We are going to be there every day, whether they like it or not.
Okay.
Yeah. I think for me, I have two issues, finally, for SHIF. One, we are wasting money registering people. Right now, I can go to the facility I chose and then hit IF. I can put in my biometrics. They can identify me. Why do I need to be registered again? That is waste. Number two, the privatization of health. SHIF is entrenching that, in that they are going to equalize the public, the private, and the mission. And we know that the capacity of the public is lower, and Kenyans are going to choose the private, so the private is going to benefit more, and we know this is with the selfish interest, because some of them, they actually own these facilities. Finally, allow me to address our President, His Excellency, President Ruto. Your Excellency, we came, we sat with you. The reason as to why Kenyans are today demonstrating is because they have seen the challenges that have been there, that we have been trying to come out, and you have not listened to us. Up to now, we feel that you, as the president, you have not acted in the matters of health sector. As we sat with you in Catholic University, before you became the president, please convene another round table even before the task force, so that we can be able to sort some of the issues that are very basic, like the posting of the interns and ending the current strikes.
All right. Mheshimiwa, your final thoughts.
In the health sector, get the immediate crisis resolved. Then if you want to bring the task force, bring it when that crisis of employment has been done and there are no people sitting out there. Then the task force can then have integrity and people can believe in it. In terms of SHIF, let's not just talk about collection of money. which is what SHIF and SHA and all those things are about. Now, let us look at service delivery. What are the benefits people will get? Work with the county governments to make sure that there are services that this money will pay for. And that includes employing health workers and giving them good working conditions. 3, then look at this issue of informal people in informal employment. How do we do testing so that people actually pay? How do they distinguish between somebody, a matatu owner who has got 3 matatus, and a one who's running a fleet of 30? They're not going to pay the same. So look at that. Look at the indigents, those who are not able to pay. How do I identify them? I think that's a bigger task, so that everybody then pays. But overall, me, I also will address the president. In my view, I take a lot of, I look at the president and say, if many of the CSS you have appointed, people are saying remove them.
Remove them.
Then you also need to change your way, Mr. President. I'm getting the impression where I'm sitting, whether I'm wrong or not, that either you don't listen to technical or professional advice, or people who are around you are not giving the advice.
Competent.
No single person, however talented, can run a whole country, touching on every aspect and giving it. It is those people that you have picked. Give them authority to and leeway to act. Pick the correct one.
Yeah.
But if the ones you have picked are not right,
all right, thank you, gentlemen. The president seems to be having a lot of messages this morning. We appreciate your time and contribution to this discussion as we were talking about the state of healthcare system. I have been having a sit down with Dr. Simon Kingondu, the president of the Kenya Medical Association, also Peterson Washira, chairperson, Kenya Clinical Union Officers, Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, and of course, Mheshimiwa for Seme constituency, Dr. James Nyikal, who also sits at the Health Committee of the National Assembly. Gentlemen, thank you once again, and thank you for watching. The program continues in just a bit. I will be engaging Dr. Naftali Masharia. He's a dental implant surgeon and general practitioner. We will be talking about dental health, so the basics, what you need to know. Do stand by for that conversation. My name is Safina Chengoma. Right now, we take a very short break. We will be right back.